This is my Ecoflow Delta Pro 3600 watt hour solar generator battery pack, whatever you want to call it. Last year I did a video about how my Delta 2 Max system was powering my whole RV camp, hunting camp at the lease out here where we're totally boondocked. It worked great, but the base unit of the Max is about 2,000 watts. This base unit is 3,600 watts. You can add 2 more units to it, and you can get it for a total of about just over 10,000 watt hours, 10 kilowatt hours. That's what this is doing right now. Now, the cool thing about this one, I decided to use this one this year, it actually has a 30 amp RV plug on it. So last year I had to put an adapter on this and plug it into 110, and that worked fine into the Max system, no problem there. It would not run the air conditioner, but it's cool in the mornings and sort of warm in the afternoons this time of year. It's rare that you use the air conditioner during hunting season. You're more likely to use the heater, and the heater in my trailer is propane except for the fan, which is 110, and this runs the 110 fan just fine. I ran the microwave on this last night. It worked fine. So this year we're running the Delta Pro system, and I'm thinking about hooking up a second battery. But one cool thing is that it will interface to the smart generator, which you can hear running right there. And you can go into the app and set the smart generator via this cable right here. Via that connection right there is how the smart generator talks to the Delta Pro system. And you can go into the app, which I'll show you the app here in a second. It's the Ecoflow app. You can go into the app and tell it to kick the smart generator on when the battery gets down to a certain percentage. I currently have it set at 20%. When the battery gets down to 20%, the smart generator will come on and charge it up to whatever percentage you can set. You can set a top and bottom percentage. So I have mine currently set to kick on at 20% charge and charge the battery up until it reaches 80% and then kick off again. Now, the reason I do that is what I've found is this. I got this smart generator at the end of season last year, and I did a video on it. I'll link that somewhere up in here. I like it. It works well for what it is. It's not, I found out the other day, just like last weekend, it's not very waterproof. Like my old Champion generator, if it started raining out here, I'd be running it outside and no problem. It was fine. It's like a car engine. Run just fine, no problem. Had some covers over the electrical outlets that kind of helped prevent shorts and whatnot, water from getting into the plugs, so no big deal there. But I never had any problem with running my Champion, my previous 2 or 3 Champion generators in the rain. This one kind of started to sputter when it got rained on last weekend, like there was water getting in the gas tank, and I don't know why that is, because it's got a pretty tight seal in that gas cap. But anyway, but you know, I was always worried about the electronics in it. It's got a nice computer screen in it, and it's got Wi-Fi, it's got Bluetooth, it's got a bunch of electronics like that inside of it. You can monitor it over the internet. I have my Starlink set up, which is right there. Starlink is right there. So when I go home and I leave this system running, I can monitor it from home for a while until the battery dies. So what I have found, let me show you the app real quick. All right, this is the Ecoflow app, and you can see this is the generator. This is my Delta Pro. This one right here, this is my Wave 2, or I'm sorry, my River 2, and it's running my computer at home. I'm basically using it as a UPS on my computer at home right now. So right here is the smart generator. It's outputting 1,100 watts. Total runtime is 49 hours. When I started this hunting season about a week and a half ago, it was 13 hours. I only ran it for 13 hours all of last year because I got it at the end of season, and I'd made that video that's on this channel. But then I didn't really use it much over the summer. So I've got that. It's 49 hours right now. You can see it's got another hour's worth of runtime at 21%. One cool thing about it, the 21% means how full the gas tank is. This is the Delta Pro app, or the Delta Pro system through the app. It's currently inputting 1,100 watts, which matches with what the output is on this. And it's got 3 hours, 45 minutes until fully charged. And it's outputting 250-260 watts to my RV right now. So obviously you can see that the generator is going to die before it's only 20% fuel. I could fill it up to 100%. I could get it just over this 3 hour mark. But what I have discovered, the fuel tank, I've got my 5 gallon VP Racing Fuels gas can, and it'll hold about 5.5, maybe 6 gallons. And the fuel tank on the smart generator only takes about 1.5 gallons, maybe 2 gallons at the most. And if I fill it up and the Delta Pro gets down to 20%, it basically takes the entire tank of gas to get the Delta Pro back up to like 80%, because I have it currently set to shut off at 80%. Usually I'll have anywhere from 1 to 1.5 hours left after the Delta Pro gets to 80%. So, and the Delta Pro has been lasting about maybe 12 hours, something like that. Honestly, it hadn't been lasting as long as my Delta Max system did. Now, the Delta Max system with the 2 batteries is a total of 6,000 watts, and this one's only 3,600 watts. But when I made my first Delta 2 Max video, I didn't have the second battery. I only had 2 batteries, so it was 4,000 watts. So it was running about the same as this, a little bit more, but 3,600 watts here, 4,000 watts there. However, I've been having a lot more stuff plugged into this one. I've got my truck battery plugged into it right now, my internal generator, my internal solar generator plugged into it right now, although I think that's been topped off. I've got a second fridge in the Gazelle gazebo right there. There's a couple other things that are plugged into the trailer right now charging. So it's running more than just the trailer. So I've been running it down faster than I had experienced last year. So what I need to do, and maybe as a follow-up to this video, or maybe later on as a part of this video, I don't know. I'm about to pull this trailer out of here and take it to the repair shop for the second time for the same issue. So I'm not going to be able to let it run the entire season. I don't know when I'm going to get my trailer back. They may have it for 2 or 3 months. I have no idea. I might get it back in a week. They might have it for 2 or 3 months. But I'm not going to be able to let the Delta system run the entire camp because the trailer's not going to be here. And I haven't figured out quite yet where I'm going to be sleeping after that, but we'll take care of that later. So, what I was saying about the gas tank is that if I top off the Delta Pro and fill the gas tank and leave and go home, because my experiment had always been to see how long it would run while I'm not here. I was wondering if I could keep the trailer running and powered with the refrigerator, turn the heater off, that doesn't need to run, minimal stuff running, and have the battery still charged when I come back the following weekend. Basically, go home on Sunday or Monday, be at home working this week, and come back on Friday and have the power to the battery and the trailer still up and running. As of yet, I've not been able to do that. I couldn't even do that with the Delta Max system with all 3 batteries. 6,000 watts was not enough to do that because it's also running the Starlink. That's another thing it's running is the Starlink. I got a couple of battery chargers plugged in right now. I got some lights running in the trailer. I would turn all that off. I would keep the Starlink on because the Starlink is what gives it internet, and that's how I can monitor it remotely from home. But with a single Delta Pro 3,600 watt battery, it's not lasting but like maybe 10 to 12 hours on a full top off. The generator basically takes a full tank of gas, almost, not quite, but almost a full tank of gas to charge it back up to 80%. And then once the battery gets down to 20% again, the generator's only got like 20-25% of fuel left, so it'll run for a while, bring the battery up a little bit, but then once the generator runs out of fuel, over time the battery runs down and then it's dead in the water because there's nothing to charge it. I had to put my tent over there this year because I'm about to pull the trailer out of here. Last year I had the tent right here, the gazebo, and had a solar panel set up connected to the Delta 2 Max system, and that helped. It helped, but it still wouldn't run between weekends. So the question now becomes two things. Number one, can I get an external fuel tank, some sort of 5 or 10 gallon fuel tank with a plumbed hose that goes into the top of a specialized cap for the generator so it'll run 2 or 3 or 4 times longer? Or can I run it on propane? It will run on propane also. Now the output's not as high, so the charging will be even slower, but how long does a 20 or even a 30-pound bottle of propane last as compared to 2 gallons of gas? I'm thinking a 20-pound bottle of propane is going to last a lot longer. So that's going to be the next experiment that we do. Yeah, stay tuned. This is the very last weekend of hunting season. Official hunting season ended 2 weeks ago, and they have an extension season for doe and spike, and that's where we're at today. Most of you probably know about all the troubles I've been having with my RV. The RV that was in the first part of this video and in the video last year, I took into the shop the second week of November. This is the second week in January when I'm recording this segment, and they still have my RV. So I've been camping in my friend Mike's RV, and we've been running, when I'm here, they have their own gas power generator they use a lot of the times when I'm not here. When I am here, I set up my Ecoflow stuff, and I have been powering pretty much every weekend for the last 2 months. Every weekend that I've been here, which is 85% of the time for the last 2 months, I've been powering whatever trailer I'm sleeping in with my Ecoflow Delta 2, I'm sorry, the Ecoflow Delta Pro and the Ecoflow Smart Generator. So these two devices connect via cable right here. And I went through part of this in the first part of the video, but that was at the beginning of season. So I've spent the last, I don't know, 10 or 12 weekends. Again, not every weekend. I'm out here most weekends, but not every weekend. I spent the last 10 or 12 weekends running this setup. So today I'm going to tell you how well it worked. First of all, I think overall I'm very happy. It does work well. It needs a little bit of tweaking here and there. One thing that I never got around to, just because, well, there's a couple different reasons. But I always wanted to connect because this generator is a dual fuel generator. It will run off of gasoline or propane. Now I've got some propane bottles. There's a propane bottle there. I've got my Blackstone over there that runs on propane. I've got a fire ring somewhere. Oh, it's right there. Fire ring runs on propane. The trailer has the trailer heaters on propane. We've got a lot of propane bottles around here, and we've been using them for various things. And that's one reason I didn't get around to plugging up a propane bottle to the smart generator. But it will run on either gasoline or propane. The propane is not as, it doesn't output as many watts as the gasoline does. So I said in that original video that I wanted to leave the system running with the Starlink connected so I can monitor it from home. I never got to do that. And part of the reason for that is I tried it the first weekend I was here, and by the next day, the system had died. So part of the reason for that, and that's gonna depend on weather, how warm it is outside, how many things you have plugged into the battery. The only thing I had plugged into the battery was I turned the heater off, so the heater wasn't running in the trailer. I had the trailer running, so the trailer battery itself was charging, but it was topped off, so it was minimal. And then, of course, the Starlink was running. Well, the problem that I have... Electra sees something, or hears something. What do you hear? What do you hear? She don't want to say. Okay. The problem that I have with this setup, and it's not a problem, it's just something I noticed, is that the generator itself only has about a 1 gallon tank. So if I fill the generator up to full, and in the Ecoflow software, like I'll show you that right now. All right, right now in the Ecoflow software, it shows that the smart generator is at 44%. That's the amount of fuel it has, and it shows the runtime of 2 hours and 10 minutes until that fuel is gone. Now, if we switch over here to the Delta Pro battery, it shows 3 hours and 20 minutes until fully charged. And it's bringing in about 1,100 watts from the smart generator right now. So the generator is going to run out of gas before the battery gets topped off. What I found is if I top everything off, that Delta Pro, now last night, I got here late last night, and I plugged that trailer in around 6 p.m., and it ran, and I did not have the generator plugged in, and it ran until about 9:30 this morning, and it was down to, and the Delta Pro was down to 10%. So that battery ran that trailer. I was watching TV last night, had my phone plugged in, had a couple other things plugged in. The fan on the heater was running on 110 volt. The refrigerator was running on 110 volt. And the heater itself is propane, didn't have to worry about that. And all of that, and it ran that trailer for about 15 hours. And it was only down to 10% at the end of that. So that was great. So it'll run about 12, 15, 16 hours, something like that. Again, depending on, and if I were to turn everything off and just leave it plugged in and go home, it'd run it longer than that because it's not running the heater fan. There's not a way to turn the fridge off except for unplugging the whole trailer. What I found out was if I top the generator off, leave the battery running, the generator kicks on. When the Delta Pro reaches 80%, the generator shuts itself off. And at that point in time, the generator has about 40 to 45% fuel left. Well, between 35 and 45% fuel left, okay? Between 30, depending on what's running on the electricity at the time. So between 35 and 45% fuel left. So in other words, it doesn't have enough to top it off to 80% again. So it's using about 70% of the fuel to take the Delta Pro from 20% back up to 80%. So then the Delta Pro runs everything again for another 12 or so hours until it gets to 20%. And then the generator kicks on, and having only 35% fuel, it'll charge the Delta Pro battery up to 50 to 70%, depending, something like that. And then about another 10 hours goes by and it dies. So the only way to get it to run longer than that is to come back out here and fill it up. So you're looking at basically a day and a half. Basically a day and a half, because the fuel tank on the smart generator is so small. Well, here's the good thing about it. Well, you could control the wattage input on the Delta Pro, and I have it set to 1800 watts right now, but the generator's only putting in about 1200 watts, as you saw a minute ago. Well, it'll probably, even if plugging in the propane puts a lower wattage out, if it's doing 1100 watts on gasoline, let's say it does 900 watts, something like that on propane, but a 20-pound propane tank might last a lot longer than 1 gallon of gas. And of course, you can get a 30-pound or a 40-pound or a 100-pound propane tank. You can get as large a propane tank as you want. All of that to say, I know that was a lot of words. Sorry for babbling on like that. I've been incredibly happy. Here's the good things about this, okay? Every weekend I've come out here with 5 gallons of gas, and I've never run out. I've always gone home with like 1 to 2 gallons of gas, okay? And that's spending usually 3 to 4 nights, either Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, or maybe just Friday, Saturday night. In years past, using a regular generator, I would fill the generator up, top the generator off every day, and I'd go through 5 to 10 gallons of gas a weekend, depending on how many nights I stayed. Okay, and depending on how much you run on it also, because, you know, it's going to run, it's going to take a lot more juice to run the air conditioner if it's hot outside and whatnot. Usually it's not hot outside during hunting season. But I've been using 2/3 less fuel than I would if I was running on straight gasoline generator power. So that's been good. Some people don't like the noise of the generator at night. Every time Frank and I go somewhere and he's like, oh, I got to listen to the generator again. And I'm like, I like the generator noise. I find it kind of soothing, kind of like a white noise. He doesn't like it. Some people don't like it. That's fine. But you have no noise if you're plugged into the Delta Pro battery. So that's another good thing. You can run a lot longer on a single can of fuel. It hasn't had trouble running anything yet. It's got some extra ports on it, the Delta Pro does, so I can charge my battery, my battery boxes like these right here. I can charge my battery boxes. I can charge another battery itself. I can charge peripherals directly from the Delta Pro without having to plug it into the trailer, so it's got extra plugs on it for that. So it's kind of like an all-around good tool. I've been very happy with it. My next step is to see how long it will run on a 20-pound propane tank. Perhaps I've got a 30-pound also. I might try that as well. Because my goal, as I said earlier, was to let the Starlink run. I can monitor the Ecoflow devices from the Ecoflow app. I could even put an IP webcam up here if I wanted to and connect it to the Starlink and monitor the campsite from home. And I never really got around to doing that this season, but we're going to be coming back out here for the next month or two. There's a big hog population, so we're going to come out here and do that. It's pleasant to be out here when it's not too blasted hot. So before the weather gets too hot, I'm probably going to make another couple trips out here anyway. So let me know in the comments below what you guys would like to see. Successful usage of this Delta Pro / smart generator system for the last, like I said, 10 to 11 weeks being out here almost every weekend. Been really happy with this. Gonna expand upon it, grow it from there, and see what else we can do with it. So thanks for watching today.